All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to phase 2 as we explore the validity of the claim of 9/11 and J6 and of course, Pearl Harbor all being on the same level, and that J6 was one of the greatest attacks on the homeland, and it was an actual insurrection that was organic, I guess, or maybe non-organic, meaning that Donald Trump inspired this insurrection. And we want to just simply look at some evidence, and explore and let this evidence kind of speak to us, okay? I'm just showing you the evidence and letting you conclude. So I don't want YouTube to think that this guy's up here spreading dis and misinformation. I want you to see the clips and let you conclude some things, because I think it's important as a culture and as a country that we ask these questions and we put these clues together to come to some type of agreement about how serious this is, especially when you're using it to justify why a president should not be able to run again, or shouldn't be on a ballot, or he should be brought up on charges, or he should be labeled as an insurrectionist. All of these things, when you are labeling people as insurrectionists, when you're jailing them as insurrectionists, but they're not being charged for insurrection, I think it's important to understand what are all the elements that made them come to these conclusions. And so in this phase, what we're going to do is we're going to move from the last phase, which is simply making a compare and contrast between all of the greatest attacks on the homeland and J6, to now looking at separating the sheep from the wolves. Meaning this, Trump supporters, MAGA supporters, or conservatives, we kind of identify what conservatives look like, act like. Now, it's not a stereotype. It's just an observation. We have a tendency to go and participate in events that you will notice certain behaviors, certain attitudes, certain things you'll bring to the event, certain conversations, and you kind of start realizing conservatives have a different mentality. And when somebody comes along that breaks the whole complete mold of a conservative, then it brings attention to that person. And a lot of conservatives are quick to identify you're an outlier. You're standing out. Something is different about you, and you might just be a wolf in sheep's clothing. So we would hate to think that on J6, they planted a whole bunch of wolves in sheep clothing in that audience in efforts to try to make the whole audience look like wolves. See, we would hate to think that, but let's see if we could draw some conclusions based on some video clips that I acquired. And you tell me, why would these Trump supporters be saying these things and reacting like this to these people? Let's see. Let's get it. What's going on, America? Welcome to Kevin's Corner, where I try to make some sense out of nonsense. Before we get into this video, I need y'all to do me a favor. Hit that like button, share my videos. Please make sure you subscribe. Make sure your notification buttons are turned on to all. Subscribe to my alternative channel, just in case YouTube give me the slip or something. You'll know how to find me. Don't forget to check me out with all the podcasts and follow me on Rumble and the Jungle. All the links are listed below. If you want to donate to my channel, feel free. Those links are below as well. Now, with no further ado,
welcome to my party, we're just getting started.
Make sure you check out the merch store and text MAGA to 330-974-4607 so you can be a part of my text chain just in case they bounce me off of YouTube. And please help out the channel by supporting me through my monthly fundraiser. A link is below this video. You can do that because sure enough, YouTube ain't gonna like this one. They might even unexist me over this, but I don't care. This is worth exploring, so let's do it. Oh, well, look at that. We got people banging on a window, and Trump supporters are yelling, "No Antifa."
Sitting up on Summit, and one marked state trooper vehicle, 2 black SUVs, there's 3 state trooper vehicles escorted, 4 Antifa shuttle buses right here front and center. There was actually 5 vehicles total. There was 3 up front, 2 in the back. They escorted right here, waited for them to get off their buses, and they had the state troopers unloaded and took their positions. Watch. There's that guy, he had his lights on, they were coming, and then there's the ones up front too. They escorted, and each one of those buses are labeled. They're all paid charter buses.
Look at that, bro.
Yeah, I got questions.
Here's the black SUVs up front, and let's wait till you see who leads it.
Wow. They freaking brought damn Antifa here.
They escorted them here.
You've
literally.
got to be.
Lights flashing.
You've got to be effing kidding me.
Lights flashing.
Patriots, are you guys watching this? You guys share this video, please. You got to be kidding me. On video.
I watched them do it.
Hell no, bro.
Wow. Now, I am a little concerned about that because, see, in the past, we have known Antifa and other organizations to be brought in on buses to participate in some of these things like this. And just oddly enough, during the J6 situation, Antifa didn't show up in its regular outfits. Normally they would show up and they would have all their black on and stuff. But it seemed like inside the building, there were some people who, once they got in, start putting on things that normally Antifa would put on. But that was after they got into the building. In fact, we got evidence of a man named John Sullivan who purposely went and bought Trump gear so he could blend in with MAGA folks. And then once he got in, he took that mess off. And then got caught later on recording himself, bragging about how he dressed up like a Trump supporter and went into the building and then wreaked havoc. And so this isn't something new. It ain't one of those things where we got to say, well, that sounds crazy. I don't believe that. That has no validity to it. And then you have situations like this. Now, why are these police officers letting this so-called insurrectionist go? And why is this insurrectionist giving that man a fist bump? Why is this so-called Trump insurrectionist wearing a full-blown motorcycle helmet and all of that stuff when I have never, ever, ever, ever seen any Trump supporters come to any of these rallies, any of his events with that type of gear on, covering up their face. In fact, Trump supporters don't cover up their face. In fact, we hate the fact that they want us to cover up our faces. So people who usually cover up their faces with helmets and masks and then somehow gives police officers fist bumps, you have to wonder, are they a part of the sheep or are they one of the wolves? See, because if this was the greatest threat to the homeland, these police officers who just let this insurrectionist go should be reprimanded. They should be brought in and say, did you assist these insurrectionists? Did you help this man escape? I just saw you fist bump him. Are you guys in on this whole plot? Because you shouldn't be fist bumping these people, should you?
As soon as President Trump
look at this guy.
speaking,
Look at this.
we are going to the Capitol. It's that direction. That's where our true problems lie. President Trump is done speaking. We are going to the Capitol. That's where our problems are. As soon as President Trump stops speaking, we are going to the Capitol. The Capitol's in that direction. Let people know. Spread the word.
Now, who dedicated this guy to be the designated everybody go to the Capitol guy? Now, this right here, if you don't know, is Ray Epps. There's some skepticism about him and his involvement because of what you're about to see in these next couple clips. But it's kind of odd because Ray Epps claimed he went there to support the rally but never made it to the rally. He spent the night before on the streets, as you're about to see, encouraging people that they should go into the Capitol tomorrow because that's where the problems are. Now, notice he keeps repeating this over and over again. Where is he getting this from? Who downloaded this into Ray Epps' head to make him say, this right here becomes a talking point? It's kind of like when we watch the news and they say, Trump's an insurrection, Trump's an insurrection, Trump's an Trump is Hitler, he's Hitler, he's Hitler. They keep repeating the same thing to make sure that they drive it home. Okay, so Ray Epps, for some reason, has taken it upon himself to, bypass going to the rally. And he's going to spend his time over there encouraging people to go over to the Capitol because that's where our problems are. Okay, this man has memorized that line for some reason. So let's see what it leads to.
One moment changed what we knew about Ray Epps that night, when he whispered storm the Capitol before it had happened, and echoed the official narrative before it was broadcast across the nation.
Wait a minute. So that same guy right there whispered in that man right there's ear and said, we're here actually to storm the Capitol, and chuckled about it. So that's crazy because, see, you would think Ray Epps, who is on video saying we're here to storm the Capitol, would be one of the number one suspects and number one poster childs for the insurrection. He said storm the Capitol. Not only did he say that, but look who else was saying it.
Of supporters of President Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol building. Thousands storming the Capitol.
They're all using the same language to
Stormed the Capitol.
Stormed the Capitol.
Stormed the Capitol. Stormed the U.S. Capitol building.
Stormed the United States Capitol. He ran it through forensic software that technical investigators use for analyzing audio and video to make sure we heard correctly and it had not been altered.
Wow. So the man who got caught on tape saying, "We're here to storm the Capitol," those exact words, which the media made sure they strategically picked those words, storm the Capitol, along with the Democrats, along with Joe Biden and all of them. They picked that language for a reason. The same language that Ray Epps used. Now, you would think if you want to link somebody to inspire an insurrection, you would link the guy who was on video saying that we're here to do exactly what y'all claim all of these Trump supporters did. Storm the Capitol. So now, why isn't this man in the slammer for about 20 or 30 years? He was on location. He said storm the Capitol. All of these things this man said right here. But yet we got Enrique, the leader of the Proud Boys, I think is about doing 22 years or something like that. We got all these people doing some big time years, except the guy who said, "We're here to storm the Capitol."
You hear someone?
I'm not kidding. We're here to storm the Capitol. Hell yeah. All right. Have a good night. Be safe.
And
Yeah,
so
you
through
sound
hours
crazy,
of
don't you?
footage, countless news stories, Epps' FBI case documents, and his deposition before the January 6th committee to see if it had been discussed.
Yeah, what happened?
With the exception of one writer we found on Substack, it hadn't.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that during all of those so-called interviews during the very, very, I guess, upstanding J6 committee, during all those interviews, they never asked Ray Epps about this and why he said go storm the Capitol. They never, that's pretty odd to me. The man who said go storm the Capitol is still running free. Now, did you ever hear Trump say go storm the Capitol? But yet they're saying he was responsible for the insurrection. The man who actually said we got to go into the Capitol, storm the Capitol, he is not being held responsible for an insurrection. But the man who said go over and let your voices peacefully be heard, told the people you got to go home, asked and request that National Guard come in to make sure nothing like this happens, and it was turned down by certain officials. He's the one that they want everyone to think is responsible for the so-called insurrection that nobody was charged for, especially the man who said we should storm the Capitol. They want us to think that Trump was responsible for this, and that makes him disqualified to be on, the ballots in 2024. We better go ahead and dive a little deeper into this because we would hate to think that they planted wolves amongst the sheep.
We need to go into the Capitol.
Epps pulled this agitated rioter aside and said something. Conspiracists say he was giving marching orders because seconds later, this happened.
Well, it does look like it.
And now they pick this poor guy Epps out of nowhere and say, let's blame the entire thing on this guy.
What?
It's the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life.
Now, why is this coming out of this Democrat who all we've been hearing out of them is insurrection? J6 was the worst attack on the homeland. These people are traitors. They're domestic terrorists and stuff like that. And they all should be jailed. And they almost overthrew our democracy. But now he's having pity on the guy who, for whatever reason, was out there for 2 days straight saying our problems are at the Capitol. We need to go into the Capitol. We're here to storm the Capitol. But now, for some reason, this Democrat is defending that guy. Why would he be doing that? What would motivate him to do that? You would think Judge Raskin and the rest of the Democrats, along with the media, would say this guy is a prototype Trump supporter here. He's big, he's tall, he got the big hat on, he's saying go into the Capitol, he's saying storm the Capitol. He pretty much, encouraged the whole insurrection. Let's use him as the poster child for a overthrow of the government, but instead he's defending him. He's saying this poor guy's a victim. Now, the only thing that I can conclude that would make someone who is thirsty and looking for people to throw under the bus and link to J6, the worst attack on the homeland, the only thing I could think that would make them try to divert the attention away from this obvious guy who stood out and by all the other qualifications would meet the requirements of the perfect insurrectionist, but now he's saying leave this dude alone. So now, are we seeing an example of the killdeer? Now, what is the killdeer? You'll see in a moment.
And now you guys are doing it to this poor Ray Epps. Leave that guy alone, whoever he is.
Leave that guy alone, whoever he is. Cue the killdeer. if you don't know anything about the killdeer. The killdeer is a bird that once you get too close to its eggs in its nest, it tries to draw you away from the eggs by playing wounded. It goes off and tries to lead you astray. It starts going over here, come over here. Don't go towards my eggs because, see, it might work with animals, but the killdeer don't realize that humans are smart enough to know what they're doing. They're trying to distract me and pull me away from the evidence that I'm about to walk up on. So the only way I don't walk up on that evidence is I choose to not do it. I choose to overlook it. Anybody who is not able to see this evidence and this obvious effort to lead all the attention away from Ray Epps for some reason, you're purposefully and willfully overlooking this effort to lead you away from those eggs, from that nest. So now as the Republicans are getting closer and closer to that nest, this guy comes out and says, leave those eggs alone. Get away from that nest. All right? What you want to do is look over here. I'm over here. The killdeer. See? There it is. Look at this. See? There it is. Look at this.
She'll start coming towards us. Hear it?
Yeah. Oh,
look at it. Making noise. Screaming. Here's the acting job.
He's going to pretend it's wounded, too.
Leave that man alone. That poor guy. Leave Ray Epps. He ain't do nothing.
Epps has now been charged. More than 2.5 years later.
2.5 years later.
With a Class A misdemeanor for disorderly conduct, Epps did not have to appear in court when he pled guilty. The DOJ waived his obligation and allowed him to appear via Zoom. Epps made it onto the FBI's list of unidentified January 6 suspects, but was removed around 6 months later.
Now that is quite odd. That's very suspicious. So this guy right here that we just watched all the evidence, first of all, it appears that they finally had to charge him because people start snooping around that egg in those nests and start saying, hey, something ain't right. Y'all trying to lead us away from this guy. No, we ain't. No, we ain't. Look, we charged him. But yet he didn't get the 22 years that the leader of the Proud Boys and stuff like that, he's not getting all of that. He didn't get to sit in jail and wait until, his day of trial came, which might be 2 years. Who knows? It might keep you in there forever. Who knows? He didn't get that treatment. In fact, he didn't even have to show up to trial. Now, all of the folks that say this was the greatest attack on the homeland, please explain that to me. Y'all should be mad. If you're a bleeding heart liberal that have bought into the whole J6 narrative, you should be mad and saying, why aren't they going after this guy? He's an insurrectionist. Why are they saying leave this guy alone? Well, you got to ask yourself, why are they saying that?
Without being charged. That was taken by many as a sign he was being protected.
and now he's been charged by the FBI anyway.
With a misdemeanor.
Yes.
My question would be then, what's the logical explanation of why he has not spent a day in jail all this time? Anybody else doing far less. Not only were picked up and put in jail to await trials indefinitely, but, had to wait for their day in court in a jail cell. He wasn't.
Now, these are obvious questions that everybody should have if you're trying to be objective. That's a legitimate question, considering they're still arresting people for J6. They're still using FBI resources to track down people through facial recognition 2 years later and saying that, we're still pursuing these people. We're probably going to get another 600 of them. But one of the biggest ones, the one that stood out like a sore thumb, I call him Bigfoot. For some reason, that guy was taken off the FBI most wanted list, just disappeared off of it. And then when they got busted, they couldn't even explain it. We can't answer that. Not only did he get taken off the list, but then when they finally could no longer pretend that this guy was not a suspect, they charge him and slap him on the wrist, and he never has to do a bit of jail time. And they don't want us to question any of these things, because it was the greatest attack on the homeland.
We learned that Ray Epps talked to Baked Alaska about going into the Capitol twice.
Ray Epps came up to me and started saying, we need to go into the Capitol. If someone's saying something crazy, a lot of times I'll just agree, be like, yeah. So the first time he says this, and I'm like, let's go, which is a phrase that I say all the time.
We need to go in to the Capitol.
Let's go! And I'm just saying, let's go. All right, thank you. I'm like, I'm getting away from this creep. He's weirding me out. I'm getting weird vibes. Something's off.
Right.
Something's off. Meaning the sheep started to realize we got wolves amongst us. Something's off. I might have patronized this guy by saying, okay, into the Capitol. Yeah, let's go. This guy's crazy. See, that's what I'm talking about when I say Trump supporters have a sixth sense when it comes down to this. Sniffing out plants that have been put into an audience or group to try to infiltrate that group, to make that group look like they're there for nefarious purposes, to maybe encourage that group to do things that they wouldn't have done, maybe even do some things that might label the whole group as whatever, and then you somehow, who started it, just walks away. But in this case, they picked the biggest dude in the world who just couldn't disappear and had the loudest voice, our capital. And then when people say, well, why ain't this guy getting charged? Oh, y'all want us to charge him? Okay, well, don't do it again, Ray Epps. I know you don't have to show up to court. You're good. Okay. And we shouldn't even question this? Huh?
I go to another group way far away from him. He follows me, and then he starts instructing the crowd, and that's the famous moment. He says, we need to go into the Capitol.
Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol.
Right when he said that, something clicked into my head. I was like, whoa, this is scripted. Because he said the same exact line, word for word,
And that's
3
not
times.
natural.
It's not natural.
Just like it's not natural for him to say it 3 times. We're going over to the Capitol, that's where all our problems are. Over to the Capitol, that's where all our problems are. Over to the Capitol, where all our problems are. Something about that guy was very fishy. Could it be that he was a wolf in sheep's clothing?
And I've been doing this for about 10 years. I go to every single type of rally, so I'm able to see, what are natural statements. And so why is he going around to all the groups instructing them what to do? And he kept saying, we need to go in to the Capitol. But when he said it the 3rd time, word for word, I knew there's a strong possibility this guy's a Fed. I started that chant, and guess what? The whole crowd joined in with me within seconds.
Peaceful! Fed! Peacefully!
And
Now, did you see that wolf try to blend in with those sheep, make a halftime adjustment? Oh, I'm busted. Peacefully. After, for some reason, he was emphasizing his talking point over and over and over again, like we hear on CNN, like we hear come out of the Democrats, like we hear come out of the DOJ, like we hear come out of Homeland Security, like we hear come out of the fake news, all of that stuff. They will just keep saying the same talking point over and over again because somebody told them, this is what you need to emphasize. So now he's doing that, and folks start to say, that's odd behavior. Never seen Trump supporters do that. Huh.
And that wasn't planned or coordinated. That was just the spirit moving. That was God saying, there's something up here. Like, watch out. There's something going on. And that's what I felt in my heart as a believer.
I despise Antifa. I've stood them down myself with the Army vets.
I respect that.
Queen Creek, Arizona.
That's where I live. Are you my neighbor? I swear. I live in Queen Creek.
I'm gonna choke you, man.
Wait, this guy's
you
my neighbor.
antagonizing me, man?
Maybe it's because you're my neighbor.
It turned out January 5th was not the first time Ray Epps encountered Baked Alaska. You can see him circling during this live stream recorded by Baked Alaska at a Stop the Steal rally in Phoenix on November 30th. Shortly.
Now, that seems a little strange to me, that for some reason, Ray Epps is showing up where Phoenix is. Now, if you watch Mr. Reagan, he has a theory. He actually reached out to this young man who is pretty well known, I guess, and asked him, was Ray Epps assigned to follow you? Did they pick somebody who lives in your area to try to shadow you and see what you're doing, hear what you're doing, maybe link you to some craziness? Because isn't it odd that Ray Epps following this dude? He's at that thing, that event and all of that, and then he's there on J6 right next to that guy and all of that stuff. Isn't that quite odd and suspicious? So it appears that, I'm just saying, potentially Ray Epps could have been planted there as a wolf in sheep's clothing.
After the 2020 election, it appeared to have been scrubbed from the internet.
He's yelling, go into the Capitol. That's not something I could see him saying.
No.
That's totally the opposite of the image that he had presented previously.
In what way?
Well, he was a Marine, very disciplined. They don't cross those lines.
No.
Yet here he was screaming to total strangers to cross that line.
Total strangers.
And it was so out of character from what I knew of him. It was so out of character that I would think someone that would have to be instructing him on how to conduct himself. That I couldn't think of any other logical explanation for his behavior, his demeanor, his words, any of it. And the more I heard, the more it seems to me that he was an informant.
Wow, you hear that? The more I heard, the more it occurred to me that he wasn't an informant. So his behavior was so drastically different than it normally is that a person who knows him personally said, that ain't the Ray Epps I know. Something was different about that. Just like as a Trump supporter, I know that we don't show up with our faces covered, helmets on, knee pads on, elbow pads on, telling people to go into the Capitol and all of that stuff. Maybe Ray Epps is just an outlier. Maybe he's a one-off. We better go ahead and continue to explore phase 2.
There were undercover law enforcement officers in the crowds. We know that to be true.
I think there's enough evidence there right now to definitively prove that the government and several agencies were involved in the violence that day.
I suspect over 200 agents embedded within the crowd, including agents, or as they would call human assets, inside the Capitol dressed as Trump supporters before the doors were opened. When you track the origins of suggestions of potential violence or an active occupation of the Capitol on January 6th, you'll find that those messages were led by FBI agents that had infiltrated the group. So the FBI's involvement was deep, not just on J6, but on the days and weeks and months prior.
This man was identified as Luke Philip Robinson. He was photographed with an earpiece and dubbed #GingerGun because he was caught on camera carrying a weapon.
Now, this is strange to me, guys. So let me understand this. We just heard a sitting congressman say that the FBI had people in that crowd and that audience. We've heard the FBI come out and never deny it. They just won't tell us how many they had and where they put those people. They always use the sources and methods and things like that. So it's a fact that there were agents in the audience. Now the question becomes, were those agents inciting any of this behavior, this violence and stuff like that? Because according to the FBI, no way, they would never do anything like that. Basically, one man has said that, but then when Ted Cruz asked another one of the FBI agents, she said she can't answer that. She just said she can't answer that, which the answer should always be no. So let's continue, because now we got a guy who done popped up. He has an earpiece in his ear and a gun on him on federal grounds, okay? Let's continue to see who this guy might be.
Yet, like Ray Epps, Robinson was removed from the FBI suspects list and has remained a free man. When confronted by another January 6th defendant, Micaiah Jackson.
You had an earpiece and a firearm, man. You had a firearm on federal property. That's serious stuff.
He appeared uncomfortable and did not answer any of his questions.
What's with the earpiece at the Capitol? Who were you talking to?
Megan
See you guys
Paradise.
later. That's what that guy just said. After being busted with that earpiece in his ear and and a gun on him at the Capitol, and now he's just leaving and he was removed from the FBI most wanted list. So that's two. That's two people that were removed from the list. And he's free to this day. Let's see. Can we go for 3? We're just exploring, guys. We're just, trying to put some conclusions together. Here we go.
Number 9 on the FBI wanted list, and seen here holding a baseball she reportedly stole from Nancy Pelosi's office inside the Capitol.
I'm sure she's in jail.
Hoft has dubbed her the female Ray Epps because, like Epps, she went too far for others in the crowd who immediately pushed back.
If a woman tells you to charge the line, never charge the line. No, dude, she's up there saying, we need to go. It's like, what are you talking about? Don't listen to her.
And like Epps made a reference to getting arrested. Yet she's never been locked up.
What? Dude, this lady's like an agent for Trafficker's her.
Now that right there is crazy. So who was that lady, y'all? Here we have a young lady up there saying, yeah, go, go, go. Now, is that natural? Is that normal female behavior? Do you think Trump supporters are going to be taking orders like that from a anonymous, strange lady who just shows up and telling everybody to surge the Capitol, go into the Capitol? They stand out like sore thumbs. They raise suspicions, but yet they want us to think that this had nothing to do with any encouragement from sources outside of Trump supporters. There was no people in that audience that were acting as bad actors. There were no sheep that were really wolves. Yeah, none of that. No, everything was just straight Trump supporters, even though the Trump supporters showed a difference between them and the others. They were very suspicious of these people. And these people have not been punished, unlike the Trump supporters. Now, what does that tell you? So that concludes phase 2 of our little experiment, where we're just trying to draw some conclusions. That's all we're doing. We're just sharing information and exploring possibilities. We're not here to make any definitive statements or accusations or anything like that. We're just here to have a little deductive reasoning session. So YouTube, just in case you're wondering, I'm not spreading dis and misinformation. I'm just sharing information and letting people draw their own conclusions based off of the evidence that we have. So with that being said, we need to move into phase 3 to conclude our little experiment. Okay, before you go, make sure you hit that like button, share my videos, follow me on all the other platforms. If you want to support the channel, do that. The link below to do that for my fundraiser is right below this video. And make sure you still subscribe, make sure your notification buttons are turned on, all that good stuff, and check out the merch store. All right, God bless y'all, and we see y'all in phase 3 and exploring this whole J6 narrative once more.